Hello mate, how are you doing? Thanks so much for checking in again, back to the new YouTube channel. We're going to do another episode of Young Lion Watch today, where we talk about 3 young English players who've done really well in the weekend just gone, or in the season overall. So we've got 3 more of those today. But just before we get started, if you wouldn't mind clicking subscribe if you haven't already, or giving the video a like, that would be absolutely amazing. Let's get into it anyway. So the first player I want to talk about is Tammy Abraham, who has had a few stints in the Premier League, never really managed to establish himself at Chelsea or at Swansea. I think he had a loan spell there. But this year he's gone to Roma and he's doing really, really well. He's scored 15 goals in 28 games, I think 28. And he's just behind Vlahovic and Immobile in the Serie A top scorers. So Roma's actually working out really, really well for him. Playing under Mourinho, obviously. And it was the Rome derby this weekend against Lazio. And he scored in 1 minute 22 seconds, and then again in the 22nd minute. I'll put a link in the description so you can go and watch the highlights of that game if you want. I'd really recommend it, especially hearing the Roma fans so passionate when he scored, really like chanting his name. It's really, really good to hear, and it shows that they've kind of taken to him a bit, because there's a lot of pressure playing for a club like Roma. People think that maybe he's out of the spotlight, not playing in England anymore, but he is absolutely in the spotlight. Playing for a club like Roma, there's an enormous amount of pressure on his shoulders to score the goals. Obviously, Mourinho's sides are never well known or renowned for scoring hatfuls of goals. They're always fairly defensively sound, and they're not going to create an abundance of chances. So when Abraham does get them, he's got to take them, and he's doing that for sure this season. I'll put a little graphic on the screen of where he's getting his goals this year. So he's always sort of been a fox in the box sort of poacher-like player, but they're right between the widths of the post, which is where you're gonna score. So whether that's coaching him this year to say this is where you need to be and just wait for the chance to be delivered on a plate for you and take it, or whether he's getting a little bit more nous in how to score goals at the highest level. But yeah, he's doing really, really well. And one thing that he has improved on this year is his defensive work rate. I think his tackle percentage is 20% higher this year than it has been in any other season so far. So maybe that Mourinho coaching style is paying off from him. And he's just got into the England squad as sort of the backup striker to Harry Kane, obviously overtaking Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who hasn't been fully fit for most of this season. So he's definitely got a chance now in this international break to stake a claim to be that second striker behind Kane, because there's probably only really one spot in a World Cup squad, because Kane's going to play 90 minutes most games. So Abraham at the minute is probably in the driving seat for that second spot. But yeah, it could be really interesting to see how he finishes off this season. Hopefully he can get up to 20 goals. I think that would be really fantastic first year in Roma. And obviously, given how poorly Lukaku has played for most of this season, there's every chance that he could return to Chelsea at some point, because although he joined for 34 million at the start of this season, after 2 seasons, signed a 5-year deal at Roma, but after 2 seasons in Roma, Chelsea have the option to buy him back at 68 million, which at the minute, given how Lukaku's playing, could look like they could probably do with Abraham, to be honest with you. I know Havertz is playing well, but I can imagine Lukaku will probably be shipped off this summer, maybe give him 1 more year, but it'll be interesting to see what Thomas Tuchel does. But the option's there for Chelsea to take Abraham back if they do want, and if he carries on his current form, they definitely could look at doing that. So the second player I'm going to talk about is Marc Guehi, another player from Chelsea's academy who's obviously decided that he's not going to get a chance in the Chelsea first team, although on this season's performance he almost definitely should. He definitely should have done, sorry. So he's gone to Crystal Palace to play under Patrick Vieira this year. 18 million he went for, and he's just had a really exceptional season, rewarded with a call up to Gareth Southgate's squad. So he could play in one of the 2 friendlies against Switzerland or Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast, incidentally, is his country of birth, so that could be quite interesting to see if he plays in that game. But obviously very happy he's decided to play for England in his international career. He's had a really, really solid season in Crystal Palace's defence. I think he's been the youngest Premier League captain this year, which just shows how much of a leader he is already under Patrick Vieira. Vieira is one of those captains who leads. He's a quiet leader, which I think is really important when you're playing in a position like centre back, because you cannot be overly aggressive. You've got to be calm, sort of. I think Vincent Kompany kind of player. Kompany and Vieira are probably quite similar leaders, and Guehi obviously is in that mould as well, given he's been given the armband this season. But he hasn't made a single error leading to a goal this year, which compare that to someone like James Tarkowski, who's made 5 errors leading to goals. So if you think about players who Newcastle would want to sign, everyone's talking about Tarkowski's going to go to Newcastle. But I'm not saying that Guehi should leave Palace at all. I think he's doing brilliantly there. But why is he not mentioned in that frame? Probably because he's on a 5-year deal, which he signed at the start of this season. But Guehi's been brilliant, and I think he's fully deserved his first call up. So the last player I'm going to talk about is Anthony Gordon from Everton, who is having a decent season, but he is obviously unfortunately playing a really poor Everton side this year, and Lampard probably is not the right appointment for them at this particular moment. I'm not saying that Lampard's a bad manager, but if you want a manager to get you out of a relegation scrap, Frank Lampard is not your man, I'm afraid. Someone like Hodgson, if he went into Everton, I have no doubt in my mind that they would not be in the position they are. Lampard's coming out and saying probably the opposite of what you want to say when you've got players in a relegation dogfight. He's come out and said that there's only so much buttering up of the players you can do. Well, that's not going to get them ticking and get them on your side, is it? I can't understand why he said that. But anyway, Anthony Gordon, he's been pretty good this season. He's got, I think, 3 goals, 2 assists. I'll just show you this graphic here, which shows you what kind of player he is. He's a player that really defends well from the front. This is his pressures, tackles, interceptions, blocks per 90 compared to other players in his position in Europe's top 5 leagues, and you can see he's in the top percentile for 3 out of those 4 features, which is really important if you want to play at the very highest level. You think about managers who like to aggressively win the ball back. Klopp, Tuchel, Pochettino, Guardiola. All these managers enjoy players like that, and Gordon certainly got that in his locker, which a lot of players, you have to teach that, but Gordon's already got it, which is brilliant. Obviously, having worked with Benitez before, that might have installed it in him a little bit. It's just maybe he has to work on his other numbers, getting his goals and assists up. But I want to compare him to Jack Grealish at the same time in their careers. So if you remember rightly, Grealish was part of an Aston Villa side who got relegated when I think Grealish was actually 20, so same school year, but Gordon's slightly older. But if we look at Grealish's numbers here, his expected goals and assists per 90, compare that to Gordon's, who's actually expected to score an assist per 90 minutes, double what Grealish was. And I don't necessarily think that the players that Gordon is playing with this season at Everton are that much better than the Villa ones. Grealish was playing with Rudy Gestede, Scott Sinclair, Jordan Ayew. Probably the Everton players just take it with players like Richarlison, but Demarai Gray and Iwobi, not the best. Townsend maybe passed it a little bit. So although Everton are having a poor season, this is not to say that Gordon is not a player who we can look forward to the future, that maybe could get an England call-up one day. But I look forward to seeing how he operates with the rest of the season, because there's a lot of hope laying on his shoulders. So he'll do really well to help keep Everton up. But yeah, so we'll wait and see how Gordon goes. But it's important to remember that he is eligible for Republic of Ireland and Scotland due to his grandparents. So he could easily go and side with them. But obviously he's a Scouse lad, so I'm sure he wants to play for England. He did just get his first England under-21 call up for the under-21s in November, so he obviously does feel like he wants to play for England, but he's obviously got to maybe get that in the next few years. But it is difficult in his position, I understand. But Gordon's another one to look out for the remainder of this season. So there we go, 3 more players on the list, ready for Southgate to take a look at. We've got Abraham and Guehi, who are both in the squad for these 2 upcoming fixtures. Hopefully they'll both get some game time. I really hope Guehi does, because I think he's been brilliant for Palace. And yeah, Anthony Gordon, another one who is going to be exciting going forward, but he's still a little bit young, but we'll wait to see how he develops. But yeah, anyway, thanks so much for stopping by again. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you can leave a like, that's amazing. Or drop a comment to see if you disagree or agree with anything I've said. Yeah, anyway, until next time.